What? Cafecito, papi.
Dun, 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 dun. Hey, did you used to mess with the beat nuts?
Of course.
Did you like that beat? That what was that song that was like boom, glung, 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 dun, glung, 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 dun, dun, glung, glung, dun.
I'm mad because I know you probably hitting it right on point.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
hitting
getting
it. It was like the most popular beat. You better watch yourself.
Oh,
Boom, boom.
yes, definitely. As soon as you hit that joint,
Yeah.
that's definitely. You better watch yourself.
Yeah, the beat nuts.
The
That's
horns.
the joint, right?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, that was a jump off.
That was
They
joint,
held it down
yeah.
for Latinos, you know what I mean?
No, they did. No, I mean, they did.
You know,
No, they did.
Yeah.
They held it down for y'all.
for sure.
Because y'all been, let's be clear, right? Latinos been getting got since the breakdancing era.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was like y'all brought so much culture to hip hop.
Crazy Legs.
Crazy Legs, like just the breakdancing, the tagging.
Right.
All of that. I think the DJs were black for a while, though. The DJs
sure,
were the dudes
for
that were
sure.
black, and the rap was black. But in terms of hip hop culture, Latinos held it down from the get go, bro.
Yeah.
The Ricans was out there, like in the South Bronx, right with them, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it took a while. I still don't think y'all have gotten y'all due completely in terms of like hip
Oh,
hop and your
staying
contribution.
strong. We in there, baby.
But you in there though,
pushing,
and that's why
you know
Big
what I mean?
Pun was a big, was a big joint in there. No pun
I mean,
intended.
Terror Squad as a whole kind of,
Yeah.
gave like Hispanics a boost in hip hop.
They did.
You know what I mean?
Did
Terror
you like
Squad
Tony?
definitely-
Tony, what was his name? Tony. What was his name?
Tony Yayo?
Tony.
Nah,
No,
Tony
that's, no,
Tuck-
Tony
nah,
Yayo.
no,
No, that's
no. Yeah, that's G Unit.
Yeah, G Unit. Tony, the dude from
Tony
Terror
Sunshine.
Squad.
Tony Sunshine.
the singer. Yeah.
Tony Sunshine was nice. Yeah, he was nice. I mean, it was no auto tunes, fam, and he was doing it natural. He
Right.
was
So let me
killing it.
ask you this: were you like Boricua? Like, were you one of them? Like, oh, that's it. Like, like how when people be from Brooklyn, they be like, yo. It's Brooklyn, you know how you get hype. Were you like that just in being?
Listen, I was
Boricua?
in that era.
Yeah.
I was at that time. Definitely, I was Terror Squad all the way. I was at the Puerto Rican parade in Philadelphia with
Right.
Listen, craziness is I had my ACL was torn at the time, so I had torn my ACL playing football.
Yeah.
and I had this huge brace on my leg because the surgeries weren't as popping at that time. This is back in this is 98, 99, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So I go to the Puerto Rican parade with the brace on, rocking it with some crutches with flags tied on to the brace. You know what I mean?
You was in there.
The Terror Squad's on a huge truck. They actually tried to take my cousin's girl off my cousin's shoulders, fam. They was like,
Wow, they was going like that?
I was like, nah, homie, we was ready to beef with Terror
Hey,
Squad.
so let me ask
Word
y'all,
up.
man. Were y'all hype? Were you hype when you would hear like the Puerto Rico? Ho,
Oh, yeah, for sure,
Puerto
man.
Rico,
For
ho.
sure.
Especially when they put it behind that. Ba-dum, dum, dum,
Yeah,
dum,
brother.
ba-dum,
Yeah.
ba-dum, dum, dum. Puerto Rico, ho,
Oh.
Puerto Rico, ho. Nah,
Yeah.
y'all used to do y'all thing, man.
The
Rico
Puerto
used to
Rican
do-
parades was popping, man, for sure.
Yeah,
We used to get it
y'all
in.
did y'all thing. You know what
Yes,
I'm saying?
sir. Yes,
J-Lo
sir.
blew y'all up though, for real.
J-Lo was a big part. J-Lo was
She
definitely
blew
a big
the
part.
Puerto Rican, because I would say when she in '94 she started getting popular. She was a dancer on In Living Color.
For sure.
And then
yeah.
she did that movie. What was that movie that was a crazy joint about the dreams and the dude that was The Cell? The Cell joint.
Oh, The Cell,
Man,
yeah, that was crazy.
That was a
I thought
crazy
Anaconda was a
movie.
bigger joint than that, though. Anaconda,
Well, in terms of pop culture,
Okay.
But The Cell was more of like J-Lo can act. You know what
yeah,
I'm
she
saying?
can act,
Like,
for sure. She can act better than she can sing.
Yeah, right. She could act, and then she got with Diddy and all of that. And then
Jenny
that
from
was
the
like
Block. Jenny from the Block was
hey,
popping.
but that sounded like that was kind of like the Beating Us beat, right?
Yeah,
It kind of had that
it
joint.
was. Yep.
Bing, boom, when I rock that
Yep.
I got. I'm still Jenny from the Block. Used to have a little when I have a lot. That joint used to crack. Oh man, I wish we
Yo,
could
that's
play
crazy.
music.
You the human beatbox.
I'm
man.
the
Word up.
human
That's crazy.
jukebox, baby.
I would have never been able to come up with that
Oh,
tune real quick
I
off the
remember
top
that.
like
Don't
that.
be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the Block.
Yo,
Used
that's
to have a
crazy that
little,
we're
but
doing
I
that
have a
right now.
lot. That was called On the 6th. That was the name of the album, On the 6th.
Yeah, the album
Talking
was
about the
alright,
train.
man.
Yeah, it
Word
was
up.
so. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, man, we just had to have a quick hip hop moment. Y'all got to remember
Yes.
who we are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We grew up in hip hop. We love the art form. Not the current content, but we loved what the genre represented.
Word
Hip hop changed our lives. We were able to do it for the Lord and still do it. I got an album dropping soon. Strike got an album dropping. You dropping what, next Friday, right?
The 12th.
The 12th, okay.
June 12th.
Yeah,
yes,
you
sir.
dropping the Tuesday after next Friday then.
Yeah, June 12th.
Yeah, so y'all, we're old school. Y'all dropping on Tuesdays.
The Art of Hearing.
Yeah, y'all check that out, man. We're going to plug that when that come out. And I'm warning you, do not listen to this album dropping in July. So that's going to be crazy. That's going to be the joint right there. All right, listen, man. We back to the grill again. The grill again. Back to the grill again. The grill again. Season 5, episode 23A. 23. Some of y'all might say LeBron, but I say Mike Jordan. 23.
Some might say Jimmy Butler.
Ooh. Hey, you know what? Some of the best players wore that 23 though.
For sure, man. Listen, for sure.
Jimmy Butler. But all right, let's be. Can we listen, bro? Let's just do this right now, and before we get to the content we're going to talk about, we got a crazy show we're getting ready to get into. Let's do this right now. Can we put the wah, 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 wah. Can we put the end? Can we put to the funeral the Jordan versus LeBron conversation? I think it's over. I think it's over. And don't get me wrong. Let me just say this, man. I think LeBron is a phenom.
Yeah, for sure.
Hands down. He's phenom. Yeah. He's a great, coming out of high school, ridiculous player, 6'7", right. Monster, young and just balling, like doing his thing. He came into the league and seized every opportunity. He's won won 4 rings or so, whatever. Over almost a 20-year career, 4 rings. All right.
Still balling.
Still balling.
Still top 95 in the game.
Slim was better than most players in the game at 38.
For sure. Yeah, he's going to be the number 1 player on almost every team still.
Yeah, the number 1 option. On some level, yeah. He's going to be the one that you're scared about at least.
Oh,
There's going to be some young ballers out there. LeBron has been a phenom, been fun to watch and all of it. There too, but after being swept in the NBA Finals by the Denver Nuggets, I think every real LeBron fan, you don't say, "Oh, look, he was 38." Yeah, he was balling, but you can't blame his age as a crutch when he's balling at that level. So his age is incidental because he's proving that he can play at that level, and he's choosing to play at that level. Yeah. So if you say, "Oh, you can't, man, I'm older than y'all," that's not the point. You're playing the game with us. Like, you playing the game, and when Cuz from the Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks, when he was running his mouth, he got him up out of there, right?
Right.
The reality is when you're comparing LeBron to Jordan, they are definitely different eras, no question. And I'm not going to get into could Jordan play in this area and all that. That's not the point. I think the point is when you look at certain characteristics, you have to take your hat off to LeBron and say he's a beast.
For sure.
What I like about LeBron is that he had his own game. It was a mix between like sort of Magic, sort of Jordan, sort of Kobe. It was a mix of, it was his own game. Kobe was too much like Jordan. So even though Kobe was crazy, he mimicked almost everything that Michael Jordan did. The jumper, the fade away. Yeah. He was Baby Jordan more than Harold Miner, right?
Because he was Baby Jordan, though, he's guaranteed top 5 all time.
100%. Oh, Kobe's top 5, no question.
Yeah, for sure.
No question. But I think with LeBron, the reality is you got swept in the finals by Denver, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that might just never happen. Like, it was the only time Michael Jordan lost in the playoffs once they started winning was when he retired in '93, came back at the end of the season in '94, and they lost to the Orlando Magic. They got swept by the Orlando Magic in '94. That was when Penny Hardaway and Shaq were playing.
Right.
And they was balling. They went to the NBA Finals and lost to Houston Rockets, won 94-95. Jordan and them came back and then went on a rampage, right? Like, you get swept in the finals, and I think it just says, like, you're a good player, but there's a different caliber. There's a different killer instinct. And I think you can look at, he had more points than me. Jordan didn't play 20 seasons, number 1. But 2, I think there was just a killer instinct that everybody knew Jordan had that LeBron has never demonstrated. I've seen him take over games a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say...
But that's different than a killer instinct, though.
Well, I would say, that killer instinct, we did see it in LeBron when he came back from that what was it, 3-1? They was down 3-1 in the
against Golden
finals.
State.
And they came back and won that joint. I mean, he
Against Golden State?
single-handedly, yeah.
He was, but they had
single-handedly
Kyrie
kinda did
though,
that.
right? Kyrie was,
you're right,
he was
you're right.
nutso
Kyrie was there.
in
You're
that.
right. You know what?
He
You're
was
right, man.
nutso.
There was a different level that Jordan displayed in those games that he just kind of like everyone was scared of him.
Everyone.
You know what I'm saying? Like everyone knew this guy could take over the game at any moment, and just did it.
And he was to do it, and
It
he knew
was
like he
different.
lived for
You're
it.
right.
He
It
lived
was
for those
different.
moments.
Yeah, it was
so
different.
he was just different. But LeBron, hats off to LeBron, man. Fantastic. Now I think he's selling wolf tickets when he talks about I got a lot to think about. I think LeBron is going to try to stay in the league until Bronny comes in.
I mean,
think
he said that.
Yeah, he's hoping
occasions.
that Bronny James is one and done in college. Now I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that Bronny James is that vicious. I heard it described like this. He got a 4-star name, 5-star name, but he's a 4-star athlete, right? So it'd be interesting to see how he plays in college. Because I don't feel like Bronny James is tough. I think his brother Bryce might be ridiculous. But Bronny is good, but I think it's more like, we think he's good because who his dad is. So it'll be interesting to see him go to US. I think he's going to USC.
He is going to USC, yeah.
And see if he can get one and done over there. But
we'll
if he
see.
goes, it's going to be because of his. And if he has a good season, it's a good season. But I bet you he doesn't average more than 13 a game.
What is he like? What 6'2", 6'3"? I mean,
Nah,
he's
he's a little tall.
significantly
I think
shorter
he's-
than his dad.
He's definitely short. I think he's a little tall. I think he might be
His dad's what 6'9"?
6'8", 6'9". Yeah, I think Bryce is about 6'7", and he's like a junior in high school or something.
Right. He
So-
definitely look a little
he
taller.
he clapping him. So yeah, I think the conversation is over. To be honest, I think the LeBron Jordan conversation is over. Give LeBron his props. The other thing. So I would say that the other thing that I think what makes me think the conversation is over. Think about how many every team has an NBA superstar. Any professional team has a superstar on that team. Mm-hmm. Even if they're not as popular or whatever, they got a superstar on that team, right?
Yeah.
When you get to the NBA, like the professional level, NHL, ML, Major League,
Somebody's going to stand out.
somebody's going to be the monster. They're going to be the
For
Wayne
sure.
Gretzky of the team when you're hockey, all that stuff, right? So Jordan had the same thing. There were tons of superstars on every team. These guys could shoot and all that, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing that never happened during Jordan's era, no matter who came in, I mean, there was a lot of dudes that came in. Iverson. There was just a lot of Vince Carter. There was a lot of solid ballers that came. It wasn't all these old dudes from the 80s. There was some dudes that was coming in that was balling. But you know what? No one ever took away, even distracted from, like Mike, if I could be like Mike, like,
I mean,
no
fam, all
one
you
took
gotta-
away from that.
All you got to do is say, Scottie Pippen was his number 2.
Number 2.
Like, Scottie Pippen would have been number 1 on any
In a lot
other
of places.
team. I mean,
A lot of places.
yeah.
But here's the point I'm making, though.
He played
Like,
during the era of Clyde Drexler.
Right.
Like,
They were ballers, bro. They were ballers. And then you had the younger dudes come like AI in them. Iverson, in them, right? My point is this, though. In LeBron's era, you had guys like Steph Curry. Let's just be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry came in
He's the greatest shooter of all time.
and he took some of the thunder of who LeBron is.
For sure.
Like, you've never seen a shooter like that ever. And we
They
may
might
never
have been,
again.
I mean, next to Larry Bird and Magic, they might have been the best battle of all time. I mean,
Well,
LeBron and Curry.
Might have been
as
the best
far as
battle.
postseason, as far as postseason's concerned, they went to the finals 4 times against
Full
each
time.
other.
Yeah, something like that. They balled.
That's
They
pretty
battled.
serious, and they
That's pretty
gave
serious.
some great games.
Great
you know,
games,
so-
bro. They're great games. So, but like what I'm saying is Steph Curry came in and took away a lot of LeBron's thunder.
For
And
sure.
Steph Curry ain't a rookie or 2 years in that's coming in on LeBron's tail end. Curry
Right.
been in the league a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, he's only like 2 years younger than LeBron.
Yeah, he been in for a minute. So he came in and put it like this. I think Steph Curry changed the NBA forever in the same way Jordan did. LeBron didn't do that. He was just phenomenal to watch. But he didn't
was just-
really change the game.
Yeah, he was just dominant.
He was just dominant.
yeah,
Jordan made people want to be 6'6".
right.
You know what I'm saying? Bama's compared you to how tall. Oh, how tall? You 6'5". Oh, you almost like Jordan. You know, it was like that. this dude.
I remember them days. Yeah,
This
I
dude
remember
was,
that.
and like Steph Curry, like you can't. I mean, he came in, and I think Steph Curry made people feel more hopeful because he's shorter. He ain't 6'8" with a strong physique.
Because the boy could shoot.
He could shoot because
why.
he's 6'3". He made dudes. He made 3 point. He made dudes like Trey. Was it Trey from Atlanta Hawks?
Trey
What's
Young.
his name? Trey Young. He coming shorter than that can shoot. If you can pop that three, you making it in the league. So I think the LeBron convo and Jordan convo was over. I think Jordan is the best, greatest of all time.
For sure.
There may come a day when we say there's someone better, but I don't think so. And I just think he's the greatest of all time. I think LeBron is up there. I think LeBron could say, I think you could say he's number 2. Probably. I would give LeBron number 2, and then you go on the list, you got to, I think Steph Curry, I think he's number 3. I think Steph Curry is 3.
It's tough. It's tough. Two's
then you
number
got
2's
Magic,
tough.
and then you got.
It's hard to say who's number
hard.
2. I mean,
I just don't see it. But all right, having said that, man, we're gonna let that go. Let's get into this convo. Strizak. So let's talk about this. All right. Both of us, we about a month or 2 ago, we did a show on AI, artificial intelligence. I had a buddy of mine named Mike Perry, who's a computer, he's an IT guy, but he's kind of up there in the IT world, so he knows a lot. In fact, there were things he couldn't say because of he has clearance.
That was kind of wild having to suppress the questions.
Yeah, he had to. He couldn't say anything, certain things. But we were talking about, and this was a couple months ago before generative AI has really developed, and a lot of people I was talking about it. I mean, I use it. I've been using it for a bit. I didn't go as hard as I thought I would because it doesn't always need to come into my world, but there are some things that I'm trying to get into soon that can teach my son some of this stuff and help him become an entrepreneur using AI. So there's been a lot of things that have been, and you see all these videos. This is going to change the world. This is happening. This is happening. Yeah. But it's starting to get serious now. Like a couple months ago, there were more questions like, what is AI? How many jobs is it going to take? I think we said on the show, I read a brief article of a education organization. It was $1 billion organization that saw a drastic dip in a short period of time because people were going to Chat GPT and getting their information and doing it.
It's the fastest growing app in history, I think.
Yeah, fastest growing app. And the app is actually faster than the actual website, bro. I got the app. I was like, Dad, this joint is, as soon as you finish your question, it's done.
It's crazy. Even
on the website, it takes a couple of seconds to generate and do that. On the app, it's like, it's done. Whatever you asked it. So it's crazy. But now, I would say 2 months later from the time we did our episode, I think it's getting real now. It's getting real. Now, when I say real, I don't mean real objectively, but I think people are presenting artificial intelligence and apps. Like, we're talking about apps now. We're not talking about like on some what was it, Will Smith movie, iRobot. We ain't talking about AI like that. That's not the danger that people are presenting. They're presenting the danger through the knowledge-based system. So this is the first time, we've been talking, AI has been around for a long time. We know this, right? So you've gone to your grocery store and had to bag your own groceries, scan them and bag them. Me and my boys just went to go grocery shopping the other night. And a lot of it was having to scan and bag our own groceries, right? So we've been seeing that for a long time. But this is the first time that AI is used specifically in the knowledge world. It's one thing to have it work with, computer and like, prosthetic legs and different things like that, right? Whatever. But now it's, okay, this is affecting the knowledge. Like people are actually asking it questions and getting knowledge and getting answers like this, right?
Right.
So it's becoming dangerous to people. And recently, there were 2 articles that me and Strack looked at that are presenting AI as a genuine human threat. So we want to look at these. It's going to come on your screen. So if you want to read this with us, then just enlarge your screen. But I'm going to read these. This is the first one is from the Washington Post. Hold on, it's the wrong first page. I thought I set these. Okay, I did click on it. All right, here we go. So this one is from the Washington Post, and it says, oh no, this is NPR. All right, this is NPR. And it says it's entitled, this came out 2 days ago, and here's the article. If you want to read it with us, just make your screen, if you're on a computer, the full screen. This is what I'm doing. All right, here's what the article says. It says, this is the title, leading experts warn of a risk of extinction from AI. That means the end of humanity, extinction. And it says, here's the article underneath.
That's pretty serious.
That's a bold statement. A risk of extinction, my dude. That's a bold statement.
Yeah, that's serious.
So it says AI experts issued a dire warning on Tuesday. Artificial intelligence models could soon be smarter and more powerful than us, and that it's time to impose limits to ensure they don't take control over humans or destroy the world. Mitigating the risk from extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. That's a crazy statement, bro.
Yeah.
It's basically saying that AI mitigating the risk of extinction should be as serious as a pandemic or nuclear war.
I mean,
right?
we just shut down the entire nation for a pandemic.
We just shut it down. The whole nation, the whole world was shut down.
Right. So what should we be doing?
Right. So, and this is who said that. A group of scientists and tech industry leaders said in a statement that was posted on the Center for AI Safety website. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, the Microsoft-backed AI research lab that is behind ChatGPT, and the so-called godfather of AI who recently left Google, Gregory Hinton, were among the hundreds of leading figures who signed the "We're on the brink of crisis" statement. So keep in mind.
I mean, the title, right? The title alone, like we're on the brink of crisis statement.
Yeah, right. Brink of crisis. The call for guardrails on AI systems has intensified in recent months as public and private and profit-driven enterprises are embracing new generations of programs. All right. In a statement, let's go to the next joint. This is a crazy thought, bro.
Yeah.
This is crazy. All right. In a
if
separate statement,
if it has any validity, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. In a separate state, stop giving away where we at already. In a separate statement published in March and now signed by more than 30,000 people, tech executives and researchers called for a 6-month pause on training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4, the latest version of ChatGPT chatbot. An open letter warned advanced AI could present a profound change in the history of life on Earth and should be planned for and managed with commensurate care and resources. In a recent interview with NPR, Hinton, who was instrumental in AI's development, said AI programs are on track to outperform their creators sooner than anyone anticipated. I thought for a long time that we were like 30 to 50 years away from that. Now I think we may be much closer, maybe only 5 years from that, he estimated. Dan Hendricks, the director of the Center for AI Safety, that's a crazy company. Like, think about this. The director of the Center for AI Safety.
For AI safety. Yeah.
Noted in a Twitter thread that in the immediate future, AI poses urgent risks of systemic bias, misinformation, malicious use, cyber attacks, and weaponization. He added that society should endeavor to address all the risk posed by AI simultaneously. Societies can manage multiple risks at once. It's not either or, but yes and, he said. From a risk management perspective, just as it would be reckless to exclusively prioritize present harms, it would also be reckless to ignore them as well. So let's stop there for a second. So this is a crazy thought. Now, let me tell you where my mind immediately goes, right? This is where my mind immediately goes. And I'm not even trying to be funny. I know we crack jokes a lot and all that. This is where my mind immediately goes when I read all this. The first thing I go to is the 80s, I think of Skynet, right? That's the first place my mind goes, to Skynet. And then this movie called War Games. So it was a Matthew Broderick movie, who was an actor who played Ferris Bueller, for those of you that know Ferris Bueller. And in this movie, he was dealing with an artificial intelligence program that eventually understood how to launch nuclear warheads and destroy the world.
Cloak and Dagger?
No, this was called War Games.
Okay.
That was what it was called, War Games. And that movie was back in the 80s, right? And then you got The Terminator, which is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's biggest blockbuster movie series, was about Skynet, this AI that took a computer that took over the world and ended up creating these robots that were hunting humans. All that stuff, right?
Sending them back and all that.
So my mind goes to this type of stuff. And the reason why my mind goes to it is because we've been somewhat conditioned by the entertainment industry, by Hollywood. We've been conditioned in many ways to anticipate this,
Right.
but to be dismissive of it, but to anticipate one day there's going to be an AI operated reality that could destroy us. I mean, that is the whole point of a lot of these movies.
Right.
From
Transcendent.
iRobot to all of them, right?
Did you see Transcendent with Johnny Depp?
No, I didn't. I heard, that's when his mind went into the joint, right?
Yeah, you got to see that film.
Yeah, you know what? I meant to watch it, but I didn't. I think we had started it, but I didn't get a chance to really finish it.
That movie kind of encapsulates, this whole idea of transferring conscience into AI in order to prolong existence. It really does.
Mm-hmm. So as I'm reading these, my immediate thoughts go to. Let me back up 1 second. I did a video on this a couple days ago. This is my honest perspective on what's happening in America, just as a conglomerate whole, like not one area, all areas. I fundamentally believe, and I cannot prove this because I haven't had a vision from the Lord, but I fundamentally believe that what's happening in America right now, across the boardwalk, is essentially Galatians 6. It's do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. For if you sow to the flesh, you will reap destruction. If you sow to the spirit, you'll reap eternal life. I think a lot of what's happening in America has nothing to do with Democratic or conservative or Republican policies. Those two blame each other. I think this is what's happening is the Lord is giving people over to their fantasies, their desires, and the consequences of sin habits and things are what's happening. As Malcolm X famously said about John F. Kennedy's assassination, the chickens are coming home to roost. I honestly believe, like when you look, think about this, and I've said this before on the show, but just stay with me for just a second when I say this. Think about right now, right? So we've gotten through all of we're still in the throes of all of the woke versus unwoke, all of that stuff, right? If you think about America right now, listen to the language of the conservatives who will say, this is the freest anyone's been. No one's under slavery. There are no laws opposing you, all of that, right? I agree with that on one level. There are no laws that are taken seriously, that are opposing people in the most literate way. Now, there are people who work in those systems who can do things in a selfish and sinful way. But there are no laws that say if you're black, you can do it, right? Or if you're Latino, if you're an immigrant, all that stuff. But what's happened is, if this is the freest America's ever been, like think about from the beginning, let's think about chattel slavery, mistreatment of women, mistreatment of other indigenous people groups, all throughout the majority of America's history. And this is 2023, right now, June 1st, 2023. This is the freest America's ever been as a nation since 1607, right, to right now. And look at the utter chaos of this freedom. Like, look at the chaos of this. There's no slavery. There's no women can now be CEOs and run companies. People who have sexual acronym community, they all get in there, right? They get a whole month, right? They get a whole month, which ironically is the 6th month. It's called Pride. But it's hidden in plain sight, right? That's a different conversation. But like, there's no one stopping anyone. You can have your own personal pronouns now. People can't even. So when you look at the culture, the freedom that America has boasted that it now is actually living in light of, look at the utter chaos in the country. This is what we were striving for, to be free, to have people. What did MLK say? I want my children to be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Okay, cool. Everyone's saying, well, look, no one's stopping you right now. If you don't look at the free, this is the freest America's ever been. So I feel like in the grand scheme of things, including an AI now included in that, this is sort of, I think the Lord is saying, you can't mock me, man. Don't play with me, fam. What you sow to, you're going to reap. And I think a lot of what's happening now, this fascination without a fascination to be God without God, is, I think, what we're experiencing right now, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
So when I read this, I think, okay, so what does this mean though? These
Right.
risks. So when you hear this, what do you think? So the article doesn't get specific about the risk, and that's a problem to me.
That is the problem.
The article does not get specific about what are the risks.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say, hey, this AI could learn how to hack into a system and launch, like war games, and launch nuclear weapons on its own. Like, I feel like what's missing for me in the article is the specificity of their concern, which leads me to a different concern that I'll share later. But
Yeah, I mean,
that's the challenge with me.
I don't think they want to share the risk if they even know what the risks are, because they're continually like inventing and trying to progress the technology and its advancement. So they're not stopping the process. They're moving forward and racing in the process. They're actually racing, trying to beat out the others that are also, in the same field. So
I think that's a great observation. I mean, there are people who would say that they think that the there are people who are conspiracy theorists about the launch of landing on the moon. Sure. And I used to be like, man, y'all are wilding. Sometimes I'm like, man, they might be right though, fam. Sometimes I wonder, like, are they really right or not?
I go back and forth with that all the time.
I go back and forth, man. I'm not 100% convinced. Now, I'm not no flat earther.
No,
but
I'm not either. It's funny. I actually had a conversation with my aunt about that today.
Hey, I'm not no flat earther, but I do wonder if that, because there's always been a competitive edge. Like, who's going to be the first to go to the moon? Who's going to be the first to run? And it's basically that the edge is who's going to control the world, who is going to be the first to do this, to have power.
Yep.
So that's what's happening. But now it's being more personalized. It's not nation versus nation. Now it's technology. Who creates the technology that most people will need that will end up running the world? And now it looks like it's AI. It's
kind of like capitalism infecting the entire world because it's the first one that gets there, gets all the recognition.
100%.
And if you're just a conglomerate, whatever, you're a tech conglomerate, then your group wins. And you guys get all the gazillions that come with it, Right. But I mean, it was the same thing with the nuclear race. I mean, you had the same idea.
Nuclear race, right? Yeah,
right. I mean, there's a movie getting ready to get released soon, where actually in the preview to the movie, the trailer, you hear, and it's the guy from Peaky Blinders. He's one of the main actors. In the trailer, you hear him say, "Well,
oh, that's what that movie's about. That's what it's about." Okay.
The race,
right.
To create the atomic bomb.
Okay.
So basically, like the idea was, you hear him say, "Man, somebody's gonna get it. One of us gonna get it first. Like it's better that we get it than them because they're the bad guys." That's pretty much what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that's the concept, I think, or the idea behind, advancing this technology and continuing. If you're considering what they're saying when they come together to sign a statement, basically saying that we need the government to help us regulate, what are y'all really saying? Like, I mean, why are you asking for them to help you regulate when you continuing to race and see who can get the furthest because the next guy's going to try to get there anyway, so you're going to get there. What are y'all trying to regulate? That's the question. You have to ask that question.
Yeah, I would agree. So again, it leads to, okay, if you are... So this is the reason why we wanted to do this episode. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what they know. I don't know what they know. Right.
Nobody does. They're not releasing information that's important. They're just saying there's a problem and we can't
I don't know what they know. Here's what I do know though. Since COVID happened, there has been a massive fear campaign that has driven largely how people are reacting, right? There's a fear campaign. So fear of COVID, fear of the vaccines, fear of the conservatives, fear of the liberals, fear of...
I think COVID just basically expounded on what has always been used 100%. In the U.S. I mean, if you can go back to the Cold War. Yeah. I mean, you can go to Y2K.
Mm-hmm. Remember Y2K? That was crazy, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, these are the same, maybe not, but scientific leaders in AI or in the computer world that said Y2K was possible.
Yeah.
And come on, man. I mean, what's going on right now?
And that was a
What are you
crazy
talking
joint.
about?
I mean, I remember people selling their house, selling stuff, expecting it. I mean, people bought all this stuff. Like,
Yes.
I remember somebody spent thousands of dollars on water and something else.
Because
And
they
then
thought the computers would go to zero.
Thought it was going to go to zero and shut everything down. And then I remember being a Happy New Year and waiting for all the lights to kick off and all that.
Right,
And
right.
it was like 2000. Here we are, right?
I mean, cats was storing barrels and barrels of water.
Yeah, just crazy.
Yeah.
So again, I think one of the things that what we're seeing, what we're getting at is, and again, this isn't. I started off saying I don't know what they know, right? This is the reason why I'm saying that. Strack was like, "Well, my point in saying that was not because they're not releasing information. Somebody knows something. I just don't know what they know. So my opinion, what I'm going to say, is not based on I have the knowledge of what they have.
For sure.
What I'm about to talk about, what we're going to talk about the rest of this episode, is based on the pattern that we've seen for the last 100 plus years of fear being the driving force, the impetus for a measure of irrationality among the people.
And what we know of God and how he handles things.
Right. And so, but again, what I'm saying, and that's true, for us believers, that matters, and we're going to get to that. But I'm not even thinking of that. I'm thinking of just, because there's more non-Christians than there are Christians, right?
For sure.
So I'm not thinking less about like it. No, I don't expect non-Christians to submit to God or to have a perspective on God's sovereignty. So we should, and we'll get to that later. But I'm not, to me, when I think of it, I'm not even processing it in that way just yet, because I understand the world has always been run by non-Christians, humanly speaking. And so the way that you get people, I mean, even relational dynamics, you say, oh, be afraid of these people because they do this and do that. That causes a lot of problems when you're afraid.
For sure.
I mean, if we want to be biblical, Saul lost the kingdom because he feared his own people.
Yeah.
Right. He obeyed he listened to the voice of his people, and Saul lost the kingdom, right, to David.
Yeah.
So there is a sense where we've been manipulated and moved by fear more than we give ourselves credit for. And I'm talking about believers now. I'm not talking about the world, just believers have been also swept up in this. And COVID exacerbated that. It really brought it to the surface.
Yeah.
Because now we're afraid to die. Now all this type of stuff. So as I'm reading the AI stuff, I have like two real thoughts that stand out to me. One, I think the Lord is going to let some stuff be crazy. Like, I don't think nothing's going to happen and nothing's going to change and it's smoke. I think the Lord is up to something. And ultimately we don't know what that is fully, but I think he's up to something, one. But two, I do wonder how much is the unknown of what they're not saying going to be used to motivate us to think and act a certain way, because we're afraid of what AI can do. And that's something I want to get to. Now, before we go any further, I don't know if people realize this, but what we're seeing now is biblical too, though.
Yeah.
Like this is biblical. AI itself is biblical. And let me show you what I mean, because some people may not understand what I'm saying. In Joshua, beginning in chapter 7, verse 2, it says this: Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Bethaven, east of Bethel, and said to them, go up and spy out the land. And the men went up and spied out Ai. Listen to that language. The men went up and spied out Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said to him, do not have all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and attack Ai. So they spied out Ai, they want to attack it. Then the rest of 7:3, do not make the whole people toil up there, for they are few. Mm-hmm. So about 3,000 men went up there from the people, and they fled before the men of Ai.
They got spanked.
They got smacked. And it says, and the men of Ai killed about 36 of their men and chased them before the gate as far as Shebarim, and struck them at the descent. And the hearts of the people melted and became as water. Right. So first of all, AI is biblical. If you spy on AI, and it's going to attack you, so we should expect to be attacked based on this passage. Now, And you know what's wild though? You know good and well there's some preacher out there probably teaching this from that angle.
He might be.
Nah, I know might. It's a crazy world.
There's a lot of life application in this text. Yeah,
but
that's not one of them. That's not one of them.
I'm sorry, man. I couldn't resist, man. When I saw, I was like, man, I got to put this out there. AI. All right, so Strack, how are you processing this, man? What are you, as a believer, what are you thinking about, and what concerns do you have? What concerns don't you have as you read this and other reports that we've read that are detailing as best as possible the concerns for regulation of trying to get the government to be involved in regulation. The government couldn't even regulate social media. I don't know how it's going to regulate AI, but what say you?
I mean, immediately I kind of jumped to like what you were talking about as far as what could the Lord be doing with this scenario? Mm-hmm. What is he showing us? And right away I start to think, what are we trying to do with AI? And humanity, I think for a long time now has been trying to recreate life, or at least explain how life came about and why we're here. I mean, it's only rational to try to do that. We as Christians have embraced Scripture. We have embraced what we believe to be the truth in Christ. But the world has always tried to figure out how we've gotten here. And in that process, they've done in science, the scientific process is to try to recreate things and to show how it works and how it functions. And I think AI, though it is also a major advancement for our lives as far as technology is concerned, has been one of those ways where people have just tried to recreate life. And when you consider AI, it kind of is a recreation of life, but from our hands. So it's almost like our Imago Dei. It's our.
Interesting.
It's our.
Unpack that a little bit more. That's interesting.
Right. I would say it's created after our image, because when you consider like our guest who was on with the languages, right? I mean, AI functions off of one main language. Yeah. That language is created from humanity. Humanity has these languages, and AI has somehow been able to compile all these languages, being able to translate all the human languages into one way of communicating with itself, but based off of us, based off of who we are, what we've done, our history. So AI accumulates information based of our imagery, our history as a whole. Our history books, Wikipedia, whatever you want to consider that has accumulated information for human history and human existence, that's what AI has as its brain.
Yeah.
So it really is an Imago Dei after our image, created after our image. That's all of the information that it has is after our image. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, of course, it does have scripture as well, but how is something that we've created going to handle scripture? That's a whole nother topic. Right. But anyway, I think I say that because I could see the Lord almost showing us our lack of sovereignty even over our own creations. Right. So I could see.
So I'm glad you said that. Let me say that. That's what I mean about I'm seeing what the Lord is doing. I think there's going to be a do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows.
Sure. Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, that's done, I think, with the atomic bomb, itself. I mean, when you consider the atomic bomb and the effects that it has had on humanity, even the way that we deal with Japan, like the devastation that we've put on Japan as the United States is concerned, I don't think we've ever outlived that guilt. Even though they attacked us at Pearl Harbor, what we did with the atomic bomb clearly was a little bit beyond what they did at Pearl Harbor.
I was Pearl harder.
I mean, people might argue with that, and listen, I'm not going to argue about that, but I think everyone would say the atomic bomb it was called the Manhattan Project for a reason. They understood that it could be the destruction of the world that they were creating. I think that's, if not the most scary part about this whole thing, is that the Lord could use it as judgment against us and teach us humility. And the church will strive
through what we suffer, right?
Right. And the church will strive and grow through the process. But in that thought process, I think we can then align it with the Tower of Babel, like we've been saying, where the Lord will humble us as we seek to attain godhood, we're not gods. I mean, the closest we get to deity is receiving purified bodies, imperishable bodies, being made one with God and one with Christ and the Holy Spirit.
So let me just say this real quick so everybody's tracking with Strack. I think, because this is important what he's saying. And so understand when he says we're not God, right? AI's intent is, so I started the show off saying that this is the first time that a knowledge-based AI is really, really hitting people. Like we've had AI before, but this one is one that's knowledge-based, which gives the information and input. And what AI is basically trying to do is essentially be omniscient, right? All knowing. So all of a sudden you get everything from AI. I'm seeing people do everything. Create a diet for me. How do I talk to people? It's essentially becoming my personal God that I get everything from. And I want Shark to finish, but I just want you to hear, like, when he's saying it's a God may humble us because the AI is sort of a new Tower of Babel, where it's a knowledge thing. We're bowing down to the knowledge of, and now there's this supposed fear of the potential knowledge that it could have, because some of these scientists, at least on the very fringes, realize we're not supposed to be omniscient. We're not supposed to have access to know everything this quickly. And this program, whoever programmed these things, it's able to access things on a level that's scary. And I think God may do that because it's basically AI becomes the artificial intelligence. The A is going to turn to all intelligence. And where people will get there, but someone's controlling that AI. Don't be fooled that it's just doing it on its own. I think there's someone writing code there's reasons why I think that. But anyway, I'm sorry, Strike. I just wanted to make sure people connected the dots to you saying that.
I mean, if you think about, the implications of it, like if we as humans could recreate life as God.
We're trying, right? Yeah.
We're trying. I mean, we've been trying to, but the arrogance of the statement, even in itself, is just, it's a level of pride, I think, that we take, that we're trying to achieve godhood. I think that's really what it is. It's just, we're trying to understand existence. Even if you remove the religious aspect, let's say these men and women don't want to be worshiped, though I think at their core they do. But let's say that's not the case. Still, there's a goal in mind to achieve something that is not natural.
Yeah.
They want to achieve recreating life. There's only one life giver. So if they're trying to achieve the goal of recreating life or even extending life, which the Lord says he's given the day appointed for our birth and the day appointed for our death, if you're trying to go beyond that appointment, what does that say about you and your level of arrogance in existence? I mean, it says a lot about how you view yourself and even God who created you.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of what's going on here with this whole AI thing is, we're trying to recreate life and do it better. I mean, they boast about how much better it can be, how much smarter AI is, how much, how dangerous it is. Why? Because we'll not be able to control it because it's going to exceed our capabilities. That's a lot of arrogant statements about, you as a creator. Consider two artists.
Yeah. And if you think about the language, it's AI becomes God. That's the concern. AI becomes God from the knowledge perspective.
And a God that you can see and touch.
Right. But a God you can control. Because when we pray to God, think about when you pray and ask God what his will is and want something. Often we don't get anything back. We have to wait through it, press through it. The work of wrestling with God in prayer. And then sometimes the Lord doesn't make it clear. And I think that's intentional by the Lord because our relationship, the foundation, it moves by faith. Like when people always say, well, I don't do nothing until I hear from the Lord. It sounds really godly, but I think it's an unbiblical perspective because I think the Lord you got to believe he exists and that he rewards those who diligently seek him.
The intent is good.
Yeah, the intent is good, but if the Lord, you only did what the Lord told you to do, then that wouldn't be faith, it would be sight. Right? Because you wouldn't be doing it in faith. He would be like, only do it. So I just
Or
think
you
that's
would be perfect and you don't need Jesus.
yeah, and I think what AI is doing potentially, the knowledge base, obviously it can't control time and all that, but it can control because knowledge perception is reality. I'm sure you've heard that term before. Perception is reality. So what that means is the knowledge of what I think of this person or what I think of this situation is my reality.
Right.
So the term perception is reality is a knowledge based ideology that's saying my knowledge of said situation is the reality. So if AI can now come in and craft that knowledge becomes my reality as it tells me what to do. I ask it a question, it tells me what to do. And if in all honesty, if I can type in AI, hey, give me 5 strategies on how to, ask this woman out on a date and be creative, right? Let's just say I do something like that. People do all kinds of things with it. And it just spits out these ideas.
I've done that one. I guarantee it.
That's nothing. I mean, I picked one that's a low hanging fruit.
Right.
But like, there are people who have written code, like whole things with code and stuff from an AI. Why do you need God though? Like, why would you need God if you can ask this AI a question and it will answer it? Because right now we have to remember we're at the beginning of this. So if it'll say, well, I'm just an AI and I'm not equipped to, there are times I'll ask it something, it'll be like, well, I'm just an AI, so technically I'm not equipped to answer it, but here's a couple thoughts based on what. Eventually, 2-3 years from now, that AI is not going to need that qualification.
No.
That joint might be like, man, this is what you got to do, fam. And that's it. If it develops and grows and it becomes more conversational, more personal, what it's going to do, I don't think it's satanic in the sense that the devil, Christians can't use it as satanic. But I think what AI, the knowledge base, chat, all the stuff that we're learning, what it does do is it replaces the need to go before the Lord and ask the Lord if I can just type this in and get that. And it replaces the need for faith because it becomes sight. So now I just ask AI, how do I do this? And then bam, it gives me 7-8 things to do. And then I try those. I just keep going.
The other thing that's crazy about it is, as I was talking about along those lines of it being basically created off of our information, our history, it's like a looking in the mirror. I mean, a lot of the issues now with AI, a lot of the things that people are complaining about, aside from the mistakes on ChatGPT, that because it creates a lot of assumptions based on information. But a lot of what people have been complaining about is misogynistic speech, discriminatory speech, things that in our world, it's impossible to please a self-entitled existence.
Yeah.
And then you have AI is going to attempt to do that, but with the information we've given it, right? And it has accumulated from us. So it's in a sense like looking in the mirror because we're now receiving information from the information we've given. So when we ask a question and it comes back in a way that is displeasing to us, you're just looking in the mirror, homie.
Yeah. Well,
You know what I'm saying? You got to eat that. This is where we are as a society. The way AI is going to respond to us is based on the information we've accumulated throughout the years, and AI has been handed. So that's where we are. And it's happening a lot often now. I mean, the people are making videos left and right about how discriminatory ChatGPT is or AI is as a whole.
Listen, it's funny you say that because I use Midjourney to generate images and stuff. And in Midjourney, you type in these prompts, like you put, imagine prompt, and you put a woman walking across the street at this time of day, near sunlight, neon blue and gray, orange lights in the background. She's wearing shades, walking with her dog, whatever, you just name that, right? Every single time you just put in a prompt or like a beautiful woman, whatever, it always picks a white woman every time.
Black.
You have to type in a black woman with. It doesn't offer any other unless you say an Italian. I tried all this. A handsome Italian, but if you just say a handsome man, it's always going to be.
That's interesting.
Now they might be trying to tweak it because but it's the same. It's funny how that's happening. The same. When else that happened when Google first came out.
Yeah.
Google you type in a beautiful woman or a prostitute, and then all the pictures it would generate would be black women. And so people started calling it out. So it's really fascinating. Like it has its biases.
That means
Significantly.
we do. That means we do.
100%.
It's a reflection of who we are.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar. Like I think Mark.
And by saying that, let me make sure. I think people may not understand. It's a reflection of who we are because the information Strack said it comes.
Yeah.
So even if it's not your personal information, that's not what Strack is trying to say.
Right? No.
It's that all the information was given
As humanity is
as
concerned.
humanity.
Yeah.
So it's accessing. It's not offering information that no one has ever said.
Right.
It's just able to take information and give it back to you quicker than you ever could on your own. Find it.
Yeah.
And so what he's saying is it's a cyclical knowledge reality. So when you think, man, this thing could be like God, it's really a God of your own making.
It's
right?
a walking, talking library of our history, of
100%.
human history. That's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
A walking, talking library that we're now giving the ability to prompt itself in certain ways, you know, and that's where people are like, yo, is it sentient? You know what I'm saying? So, but that's where we at right now. That's where we at with what's going on. And scripture talks about how when we create idols, we become like those idols.
Right.
And vice versa. You know,
Yeah.
I think the idols are us.
become
and
what
we
you
are
worship,
them.
right?
You know, yeah, we become what we're and we talked about that before. You also suffer the judgment of what we worship. You know, the same judgment that it would suffer. So,
So the question is, so like we're talking a lot, but there are real serious warnings. Like there are people who are in the know more than us. They are presenting concerns about AI. Like they're afraid.
Yes.
So like let's look at this real quick because we're doing a lot of jawbone. I don't know if people realize this. All right, so enlarge your screen so you can read this with us. This is a Washington Post report that came out yesterday. And here it says that the title of the article says this: AI leaders are calling for more regulation of the tech. Here's what that may mean in the U.S. We're not going to read the whole article, but let's look at this. The U.S. government doesn't have a great track record on keeping up with emerging technology. See Washington's stumbling attempts to oversee social media. The complex new field of artificial intelligence, which has already captured imaginations with ChatGPT, raises legal, national security, and civil rights concerns, what Strack was talking about, already drawing the interest of would-be government regulators. Even ChatGPT creator Sam Altman came out in favor of regulatory intervention by governments to mitigate the risks of AI. But if the need to regulate AI is clear, the question of who should do it and how is far from obvious.
Right.
Then it says, do any U.S. regulations apply to AI currently? And that's one question. Some do on a piecemeal basis. The Federal Trade Commission says existing antitrust laws can promote fair competition among AI developers, and existing advertising laws can be used to punish exaggerated claims about what AI can do. Let me say something real quick because I want to say something about this and why they're saying this. I don't know how many of you know this that are watching now and that'll watch this later. But a couple days ago, there was an AI generated picture of a bomb going off at the Pentagon.
That was wild. That was definitely wild.
And do you know that shut down the markets? Like people reacted to that.
The stock?
The stock went berserk because, and then they realized, oh, this is fake, and it recovered. But people saw the picture, believed it was true, and the stock went crazy. Like it could have destabilized the country because so much of, the SP5 stuff that you don't care about, SP500 companies and all the stuff in the stock world, that's where the money of the economy, that money that circulates in the economy that largely flows through Wall Street is sort of the oxygen of America.
I mean, think about it. We, people who are investing in stocks right now were probably alive in 2001 when 9/11 occurred, and Pentagon we've
big.
seen those images, so it's not
big.
far-fetched. I mean,
No.
that probably was on some, like, the connection was made immediately from the visual aspect. I'd imagine.
Yeah, and people were so the fact that a picture can disrupt the national economy to the tune of $5 billion.
That's so wild.
In a short period of time, there is reason to be concerned. It's like you can hoax people into thinking. And then there's AI. We talked about on the show last time. There's just other. Chat GPT is the most popular because it's the kind of the Q&A AI, right? You ask a question, you get this information back. But then there's stuff that you can manipulate voices, so someone can. I saw a lady. I saw that. I know what the app is. You can manipulate your voice. You can train it to use your voice. And so she demonstrated it and then called a friend who didn't know that it was an AI voice, right? So you could, you could call the school and tell them, hey, my this is such and such's dad. My brother's going to come pick the kids up today. I can't get them. Please let them. They're like, okay, well, just as long as he has his ID. Guy shows up with a fake ID, takes your kids out, and then they're missing, right? Yeah. So there is some reason to be concerned. But what I think is happening, here's the other side of the concern for the AI. Because the fact that you could see a picture and all of a sudden believe it in, what it's going to force people to do, particularly believers, it's going to force us to use what's called discernment. And this is where I think a lot of people are going to give in. Let me tell you where I think a lot of people are going to give in. People are going to get tired of having to wonder, is this real or not? Initially, it's exciting right now and it's funny. Oh, look at this meme of Donald Trump getting arrested, or LeBron James in a tutu, or the Pope in looking like a rapper, right? That's all fun and games now, right? But then it's going to look like, how does can AI find a way to access your bank codes, all that kind of stuff. But people are going to get tired of wondering, is this real or not? So you talk about fake news. Remember Donald Trump said fake news, that's fake news.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point where you're not going to be able to look at a picture or trust anything because you're not sure if it's real, right? Is that what you say?
Or video.
Right. You're not going to be able to trust it. Yeah. And so what happens is, if you create a society of, because we already are a society of distrust. This is what's happened over the last 15 years. And it's only grown more rapid. You don't trust these people. You don't trust. So as the society is torn apart by its lack of trust, think about when you don't trust someone, how do you treat them? If there's someone that you don't trust, you don't treat them with respect and with kindness. You're judgmental. You're irritable towards them. You don't want to be around them.
Right.
So what this is going to do is people are going to get stressed out about having to. So you're going to do one of three things. One, people are going to check out and just go with the flow because they're just tired of, or they're going to go with someone they trust. Two, people are going to be super, uber suspicious of everything. So now you can't even tell them it's sunny outside. They got to go out and check. They don't even believe the weather. They don't believe anything because there's already people who find their identity and I don't trust nobody, right? So you're going to have that side of it happens. And then third, you're going to have people that are, as inventors of evil, right? People who are finding ways to manipulate you and our average citizens of the things, the little bit that we have already. It's going to be, I think we're headed for a real season of, I think we're headed towards a season of hatred and a further loss of respect for everyone. But I think believers have a different responsibility. I think we're supposed to grow in discernment and not react to the things of the world so easily. But there are going to be some believers who right now are already so suspicious, so untrustworthy, so non-trusting, so this and that, that this stuff is only going to really exacerbate what they think. Yeah. And I'm telling you, when Revelation says even the elect, it would deceive the elect if it were possible.
Right.
There are going to be people who we thought were solid. I mean, I've seen it happen already just from COVID and the response to that.
Yeah.
There are going to be people that we thought were solid, that we're going to see them just step off. They're going to be, some of them are going to be deceived by AI in the same way Enneagram deceive people into thinking oh, that's telling me more about myself than the Bible. The Enneagram's not the Holy Spirit, right?
Right.
But I've watched people who grew up in the church walk away from the church to do Enneagram AI is going to do the same thing.
Yeah,
Why do I need God? Why do I need to pray to God? I can just type in AI and it gives me a bunch of thoughts. And those thoughts are only the thoughts of man, to Strack's point earlier. So
yeah,
I just think, man, it's going to be crazy, brothers and sisters. It's going to be wild.
If we keep devaluing humanity, right, the image
That's
of
it.
God,
But, yeah.
that's what's going to happen.
Say that last part again.
I said, if we keep devaluing humanity, the image of God, then, what else are we left with? So the idea right now going around is that AI can be considered sentient or life source, a life source or whatever, because it is able to grow in knowledge. It's able to grow in understanding. So if that's the way we decide what life is, or a something that has life within itself, then we lose the value of humanity, because we're much more than just being something that is able to grow in knowledge or understanding. We're much more than that.
Right.
Because
well said,
if all we are is growing in knowledge and understanding, the Lord says knowledge puffs up. You know what I'm saying?
Puffs up. There it is.
So that we're not just knowledge and understanding, or the ability to grow in such. Mm-hmm. And AI is not a living source. It is not living. No. It does not have the breath of God. So
yeah, it's not new living knowledge. It's at least right now, it's regurgitated knowledge that can only it's limited in what it can actually communicate and what it can do. But it's all new information to us. Right. Like you can ask it a question and it can spit out answers that you can take those answers and be like, yep, I'm just going to roll with this. And then it takes away a lot of. So again, to alluding to something else Strack said, what it's designed to do is, I mean, look, you said if you hate the image of God, you devalue the image of God. Like, who does that? If you think about biblically speaking, who does that? Right? That Satan does that.
Yeah.
So he's the accuser of the brethren, right? Mm-hmm. That's why the emphasis in the Bible is on love one another, like love your brother,
right.
Because when you don't, it's easy to devalue people.
Yep.
And once you devalue people made in the image of God, you're devaluing God who made people in his image. Mm-hmm. And you don't even realize it.
Yeah. And we've done that throughout history. We've devalued 100%. Humanity throughout
100%,
history.
100%. So again, it's just, I think that's where this stuff is, so the question is, should you be afraid? Should you be afraid? I think the answer is no, but you should be alert, right? Be alert. 1 Peter 5:7, for your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour.
Right.
It said, resist him, firm in your faith, right? So it says, be alert. I think what's happened over the last 15 years in American evangelicalism has lowered our alertness. Like, we don't have an alertness. We only have an alertness for things that we're triggered by. Right. Oh, that's woke. Oh, you're conservative. You support Donald Trump. We only have an alert list for the things that we care about. And I think we need to be alert, like pay attention. So this is the verse that I use all the time in my videos. But like, look, you got to pay attention to the sign of the times. Like, you know how to interpret the weather, but you don't know how to interpret the signs of the times. Right. And so the call for believers is to be alert, but also it's this, Matthew 6. Now, you know it, but the question is, do you know this? The question is, do you show this? Here's what it says. Therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles, the non-Christians, seek after all these things. Think about what we've been saying this whole episode. The Gentiles, non-believers, seek after, they're worried about what they're going to eat, what they're going to wear. And your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. That's right. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Right? Amen. And it says, therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. So the overall message is like, listen, God is sovereign and knows what you need, but I think we have to process that statement not in what it means to us, but what it means to God. Right. And the reason why I say that is because I think when we use that, well, God's in control, God's sovereign, sometimes what we mean is that the thing that I desire, God's going to give us. Just be patient. He's sovereign.
That's what we hope.
That's what we hope. And it's like, often, nah, fam.
Right.
God's going to give you what you need more than what you want. And sometimes what we need is, nah, I'm not answering that prayer.
Right.
Nah, you can't have that. Nah, you're not getting that. Sometimes it's not what I want, it's what I need. And so I think for us, there's going to be people are going to give up their mental faculties because they're going to be so tired of figuring out what's real and what isn't that you just give up. And now you don't care anymore. So fine, I don't care. Whatever, man. I'm just whatever you say. We can't do that. We don't have the luxury to do that. We have to continue to be alert, to be discerning, to grow in that discernment, and to pay attention. And to
we
not.
should have learned that from the access of information that we have. You know,
Yeah.
we have access to information all over the place, media, social media,
Yeah.
news outlets, everywhere. And we had to make the adjustments of how to function based on all of that we had been given. Well, here's
Right.
another leap of technology. Now the information is even more readily at hand.
It's crazy, right?
That's bananas. Just when you thought we had all the information at our fingertips, now it's even more readily at hand. It's wild.
And remember, I've said this for years. We're kind of quasi omniscient, right? Like, because we have access to so much information, we have access to more information than we're ever able to handle. And this is why, like, people, we don't realize this, but we all have like digital nervous systems.
Yeah.
That's why people are like, hey guys, I'm taking a break from social media. They really need it because their digital nervous system is damaged because we're so connected. I can spend all day surfing the internet and just getting nothing but what? Knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is I just get so overwhelmed with all the knowledge that I have that the only thing I want is the opposite of knowledge.
I mean, our
I don't
phones are
want-
kind of like an endless external hard drive.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
to us.
To us, well said. So, again, man, I think should you be afraid? I think some people should because they don't have their hope in the proper place.
Right.
So if your hope is in the stability of an economic system or a political system or the stability of like our ability to control what happens with the dollar versus if your hope is in any of those things, I think you should be afraid.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those systems are coming down. And lastly, this is what I think. So I'm going to say this now, and then I hope this doesn't happen. I'm not saying it in a boastful, arrogant way. This is what I honestly think is going to happen. And if I'm right, remember where you heard it first. What I think the warnings about AI and the things that they're bringing up that are tempting people that they're saying they're afraid about, because Strack alluded to this earlier about they haven't given us the specifics of what it means. One of the things I think it means, what's going to happen is they're going to, whoever's in power, whoever's in control, are going to allow things to happen and blame it on AI. Like, oh, the AI system hacked this situation and a virus got out, you know, an AI program system, and we're just going to, and there's going to be all this pretending like we got to go after AI, and then we're going to turn around and be like Terminator, but the AI is not going to be a walking robot. It's going to be knowledge-based things. But we're going to be, and they're going to come up with strategies that we're going to support because we're afraid because, oh, wow, an AI, once you don't define what the fear is in, when you do not define what the clear parameters are, you can say anything goes. And so I personally think because
That's
people
where
in
we're at with
power,
this.
because people in power like to stay in power, one of the things I think we're going to see happen is crazy stuff like, are you serious? Like some airplanes crashing on their own. And all of a sudden, like, what's happening? Some AI system hacked it, and you're going to do all this evil stuff and blame it on AI, and because they're giving us these warnings now, we're going to just follow right on in and be
Very
like,
likely.
"Dag,
Very likely.
I can see it happening. I hope it doesn't happen." There are times I see stuff coming, and then I'm proven to be right, and I wish I was wrong. I hope I'm wrong about this, but I'm an anthropologist, and I understand who mankind is, and I think it's easily going to transition to allowing catastrophes to happen, and getting people really afraid and blaming it on AI so that no one is culpable because no one knows who wrote this system. Most people don't even know how is the AI getting its info. What's the code that you read? They're making it seem like the code's writing itself at this point. And so you're going to be able to blame AI and no one take personal responsibility for the killing of or for shutting down the hospitals in a certain part of the country. And those people died because the emergency generators were only able to kick in. And you can do that and then blame AI. A nuclear bomb went off. We're trying to stop it. Oh my gosh, we gotta. And you blame AI, and then you blame it's this country's AI and that country's AI, and the whole time it was just a couple of dudes like, yeah, it's time. Let's press this button. Let's rock the boat. And I think we're going to be like, oh my, and just be alert. Be alert, for your enemy, the devil, roars around like a prowling lion. I'm not saying it like we're not going to be affected. I'm not saying we're not going to be afraid. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk and we just got to trust the Lord. What I'm saying is be alert. Remember that the God that you believe in, if you're a Christian, if you're of the Christian tradition like Strack and I am, remember that the God you serve, the God you believe in, he gets the final word on the end of the world.
Right.
He gets the final word on that. He determines what's the end of the world, not ChatGPT or AI. He determines that. He said this. We know that Jesus said in John 12:31, now the world will be judged, and the ruler of this world will be cast out. And when I am lifted up, I will draw all people to myself. That's what Jesus said in John 12:31, right? The ruler of this world will be cast out. See, Jesus is calling Satan the ruler of this world, the ruler of earth. Isaiah 66:1-2. God says, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Right? What house would you build for me? Okay, think about what God just said. Jesus calls Satan the ruler of this world, the ruler of earth. God says in Isaiah 66, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. So Satan is the ruler of God's footstool. Keep that in mind. Satan is the ruler of God's footstool. God said the earth is my footstool, fam. Like I rest my feet on that joint.
Right.
And so we have to be careful that we don't get caught up in the fear of because things are going to happen. I honestly do believe that. I think the days are over in America for just ease and comfort. Them days are gone. And not because of the left or the right, because I think the Lord is saying, you all have been too easy. The church has not done what it's supposed to do in many ways. I think the Lord is like, Jesus learned obedience through what he suffered. I think some of that's coming our way. And so we don't need to be afraid, but be alert. Be alert, because I think there is going to be a lot that happens. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just watch. Give it a year within the next, they're going to start blaming AI for stuff that's like crazy stuff happening. Oh, another virus, another pandemic, because AI leaked this virus in this country and then it's killing all these. And what are you going to say about it? Lock them up. Right. How are you going to lock up AI? Especially when they've been setting the stage for, we need to control this thing. And then they're going to find like, we don't know how to control it. It's just doing itself. And oh no, we're at the mercy of AI.
You can't blame us. We told y'all.
We told y'all. 100%. Yeah. 100%. Man, I see it, man. The writing is on the wall. I've read Daniel. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I ain't going for it. So, but what do we know? Man, y'all don't listen. Y'all ain't tripping. Some of y'all done clicked off while we was talking cool. Then if it happens, be like, man, Kurt Strank said on cross-examine. Go ahead, we gonna cut. Don't get mad at us. I'm not trying to be arrogant, just trying to be accurate, trying to be helpful. I see it coming. Be alert, brothers and sisters. The devil roars around like a lion. Jesus is the lion. He roars around like a lion.
That's right.
Seeking for someone to devour. Let's stay focused. Stay focused, brothers and sisters. All right? Having said that, I'm Kirk Kennedy. He's Strack the Wolverine.
Come on.
We got music coming out next week and the next month. Yes. Ride with us. Don't just say you bang with the show. Bang with the flow. You know what I'm saying? Music coming out. We appreciate y'all. Like and subscribe to the channel. New video by me coming up tomorrow. I got a crazy one. Take this video. Let everybody see it. Don't be afraid. But for those who don't have hope and faith, you should be afraid. Because the world that you've trusted is going to come crumbling down.
For sure.
But the God whose footstool is this world, they say in my old church, when things are over our head, they're under his feet. Shazam.
Bam.
Peace, y'all.